Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. You loved our next guest in Justified, Deadwood, This Is Where I Leave You, Go, and of course, you can see him in the just premiered third season of Netflix's Santa Clarita Diet, where Timothy Olyphant plays a husband desperately trying to keep a semblance of normalcy in his family, even though his wife, played by Drew Barrymore, is undead and feasts on human flesh. Take a look.
I wish we could have lured this Nazi to the kill room like we did with Boone.
He's like a walking protein shake. I want to be about more than just eating people, but I also really enjoy eating people. Fuck.
Yesterday, we were about to lose everything. Today, things are good. Life's getting back to normal.
Our mutant spider ball is sick and the Nazi meat rotted.
You're the one who wanted to keep living with us.
Being around someone like that is pretty exciting.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Wild horses, man. You can't tame them.
How much more of this do you need?
I'm good.
You're immortal, so unless someone puts a spike through your head, you're going to live forever.
I haven't thought of that.
Neither did I.
We can spend eternity together if you let me bite you. What do you say, Mr. Hammond? Will you take this woman to be your wife for the next 1,000 years or so?
I just think we should try to keep things contained. These things can snowball.
So, my world disgusts you?
I got you a present.
Can we acknowledge it's weird?
I've known you for a long time.
I feel like shit's getting away from us.
We will be fine. And one day we'll laugh about this with our grandchildren.
Our grandchildren?
Our respective grandchildren.
I don't know how I'd live without you.
It's not that I don't want to be with you. It's about what I might become. Once I make that decision, ow, God damn it, I can never go back.
Go back from feeling incredible every day forever? No, you can't.
Every day with you is already incredible.
Oh, I hate that that worked.
What do you want to do now?
I don't know. Want to have sex?
Might seem a little disrespectful.
Yeah. Hand stuff?
Okay, let me just grab a coconut water and a power bar.
Everybody, please welcome Timothy Olyphant.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Good to see you again.
It's good to see you as well.
Congrats on the third season of Santa Clarita Diet.
Thank you as well.
I have to tell you, no pressure on you, but you are one of my favorite talk show guests, whether it's this show or other shows I see you on.
Set us up for failure.
I know. Oh, this is going to be so bad. That was
It's
the
going
whole.
to be, because I was going to kind of snooze.
I wanted to knock
On
you
this
down
one,
a peg.
I was going to
you know?
just take a little nap.
I'd put you on a pedestal and I wanted you off of it. That was basically what I'm doing.
Well, I do appreciate that. I'm a fan of a good talk show guest, but I'm also a fan of yours, as you know.
Oh.
We've talked twice now. We've done interviews together.
Yeah.
Right?
This is the third.
This is the third.
Previously about Santa
Charm,
Clarita.
as we say. The third one is the charm.
I hope
So
so.
I'm expecting great things from you as well, by the way.
I got nothing.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
I did not prepare
came
at
over
all.
here and I was like, what else are we going to talk about? Because we've talked.
I mean, that's why I'm trying to talk about your talk show appearances.
We're not talking about. Okay, go ahead.
We've gone meta.
Go ahead. Ask me, go for shoot. I'll talk about talk show appearances.
I will say, I love every guest that comes on, of course. But
Come on
you
now.
seem to have.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Which is the worst? Just between us.
The worst. That is. That's tough. One time No, I'm not going to do that.
You should have just said Steven Seagal.
I've never interviewed him.
Well, I know, but that's why it would have been
I can guarantee you, he would have been the best because he would have been the worst.
Could have been.
There's nothing I love more than a horrible guest that I have to work hard for.
Yeah. God, I can't imagine.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think he really even talks. I think he just kind of blobs out.
Yeah.
Like,
But how often is it an easy gig? How often is it a tough gig?
rarely tough.
Rarely tough.
Rarely tough.
Really?
Yeah. If you watch the work, it's rarely
Makes
tough.
it okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because you're genuinely curious. People appreciate it. That's what I appreciate about you.
For the most part, some of the hard times is when I'm genuinely curious about the thing they don't want to talk about, and I don't know how to like get in there. Like I'll be like, "So what made you want to do this show that we're talking about?"
Yeah. All right.
But I would say what I like about you on talk shows is that you have the best attitude going into it. You know that you're promoting something and that just being there helps promote it, but then you just seem like you're there to have fun and have a good time, and you don't need to push it.
Well, well, there are certain talk show hosts that I'm a genuine fan of, so I look forward to seeing them. I just like that whole, I'm a fan of that medium, that craft. I'm a big fan of great.
Would you ever host a talk show?
It's all I wanted to do when I started.
Do you want to switch seats?
I absolutely, the whole time. I had a director, the great Larry Kasdan. If I'm to drop a name, I did a movie with him a long time ago, and I remember he used to say to me, he goes, "You don't want to be an actor, you want to be a talk show host." And I was like, "How do you know that?"
Why was he saying that? And
I don't know.
what was the context?
I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember him calling me out on that, and I was like, "Yeah, no, that's how it started." I thought I'd like to host a talk show.
Was it because you were like, instead of preparing for your scenes, you were backstage like talking to everybody?
No,
like...
I mean before I even started, took an acting class. I just had this idea that would be a fun profession.
Right.
There was no rhyme or reason to the order. I mean, I was an art student in college, and then, I owed an elective, and I thought, well, I could take an acting class. I've always thought that might be fun. But I think before that, I had done stand-up comedy for a few months of my life. Yeah, it's a good time. And then I thought, I somewhere in there, I thought, no, I'll tell you this. Here we go. I'll get it together. Give me a second. In college, my roommate and I, we had this idea that it would be really fun to be talk show hosts. And I think I was spearheading the whole thing. At the time, this is in the 80s, late 80s, Fox network was interested in entering the late night talk show game. And we made a video, which I think exists still, where we thought we'd submit a video to Fox, volunteering for the job, knowing that they were going to get into the late night talk show business, and our whole pitch was $100 a day. That's all it will cost you, and we just thought, roll the dice. You know,
we have no experience. We've never done this before.
Yeah.
We're in college, but $100 a day, guys.
$100 a day. It's gonna work. Because even if it doesn't work, you're saving so much money that how could it go wrong?
I want to be in the boardroom for that one executive who's going with it.
I think we should go, right? I think we should go for it. I like these guys.
$100 a day, guys.
Yeah.
We can't really go wrong here.
Yeah, we sit on the thing, we ask people questions.
I was like, no, we can absolutely go wrong. We're willing to shell out more money.
Yeah, and I think looking back, we were on the forefront of YouTube. Like when that's basically now.
Did you have an agent?
That is basically YouTube now.
Did you have an agent or manager at all? Or did you just record it and
These are just two
send
guys
it
in college. Just two guys thought it would be a good gig.
How much expectation did you actually put into the tape? Or was it mostly for shits and giggles?
It was about the process. Yes, it was all about. It's always been about the process for me. It's never been about the result. It was just the making of the video we enjoyed. Who gave a shit how it worked out? It was just a fun idea.
I love the idea about the process being like an excuse or justification for any kind of like behavior on set. Where someone's like, Tim, we actually need you to do this line a different way because it's gonna. It's about the process, buddy.
Every take's a rehearsal.
I'll be in my trailer.
Every take's a rehearsal. That's what I heard Al Pacino say once.
What's that?
Every take's a rehearsal.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't have to ever worry about which take is the one that they're trying to print.
Yes.
Or you do each one differently?
It's
what
not
does it
even,
mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
It means just that. If you look, we stumbled into a serious acting question. Yeah, you take in. It means exactly what it. I don't think there's any mystery to the idea. You just think of it as a rehearsal, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You're just seeing where it goes. You gotta, you're investigating. as opposed to thinking of so it doesn't feel result oriented.
Right.
Does that
And
make sense?
it doesn't change sort of like your looseness or your ability to kind
Yeah,
of
it's just rehearsal.
maintain- Right.
Yeah, it's like you think of it as a. I mean, I do remember hearing him say it. I feel like maybe he said it. Remember, he did that "Looking for Richard," that documentary about doing Shakespeare, and it was really all about the process. And you would go back and forth from the rehearsals and him walking around the streets asking. I love that movie. I think he talked about it in there because I remember it really caught my ear, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea, and very, very difficult to actually execute that idea. But
Right,
I've always
because
been fascinated with that idea.
Because you still have a crew of multiple people and a
You
director
can't
and
help
calling
it.
action
You're always,
and everything.
Yeah, you got people. You're trying to get it right, and you keep trying to convince yourself it's not about getting it right. It's just about rehearsing it, right? Just exploring it, and very difficult to get to.
What role in your career made you the most nervous to take, or on the first day that you started doing it, you were thinking to yourself, I don't know if I have this. I don't know if I'll be able to pull this off.
That's a good question. God, there's a lot of them. In no particular, I don't. There's not one that jumps out. I mean, there's ones that jump out like, this is a bad idea. I'm nervous about this. Is just a bad idea. Hitman. I remember thinking, it's a bad idea. Turns out, it was.
That wasn't the intent of my question.
But I'm nervous about the
appreciate
idea.
the
I'm nervous
honesty.
about the idea of it.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, I don't know.
Like, I'm not necessarily the person for this, or this itself doesn't feel like it's coming together.
All check every box. Check every box. You're just being seduced by all the things that are tough not to be seduced by. But then there's the other ones like doing Deadwood again. Terribly nervous about it. Trying to figure out how not to repeat what you think of as certain things you would like to do differently if you had an opportunity to do them differently, but then it feels like a trap because you've been asked to play the same role again. So you're trying to figure out, and it's a very, curious challenge.
Well, in a lot of ways, you're a different actor now than you were when you did Deadwood.
One would like to think so. So yeah, there's the. So I'm not sure it was nervous, but I definitely felt that it was going to be extremely. I wasn't sure.
I mean, even just taking the idea that like your character in Justified was not Sheriff Bullock, but was a sheriff, was a Western in a way, and was like a completely different kind of approach to that material and that kind of character. And it sort of opened you up more to comedy in a lot of different ways. And Bullock is an extremely reserved, nervous man, which I feel like was probably complemented by it being your first leading role on a show at the time, right?
I like that you're seeing it as it was complimented by, as opposed to.
I love your performances, Bullock, because one of the
appreciate
things that I love about Deadwood, and I rewatch it all the time, it like The Sopranos is one of the few shows that you can just go back to any episode, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah,
Is that
the writing on that show's amazing.
But you seem to have found the humor of Bullock in the second season, which is that there's something sort of hilarious about him
God, I
desperately.
love you. See, I knew there was a reason I love you. I just love that you. Really, thank you. I appreciate that a great deal. I feel like that's what I was. The 3 years of doing. Is there a lighter? I feel. Do I need to get to the gym? It's just a.
Could we get a PA up here to sit on their
Is there
knees
someone
and
that
hold
could-
Tim's
can we
mic
get a-
up?
Yeah,
please?
is there like a one of those bar? Just have a bar. What are those things called? I'm in show business. I should know. What are those things where you put a flag or a light?
Mr. Olyphant would like a mic holder, please. Could someone help him?
I mean, my forearms are killing me. Yeah, I felt like the 3 years on that show, that was what I just kept trying to have more fun with. What I think when it first began, it just felt like a tremendous responsibility, and I felt the burden of the responsibility, and I felt like I was spending most of my time trying to, take the weight off my shoulders and enjoy the part more.
Well, he becomes a character who can't keep it together. In a lot of ways, sort of similar to your character in Santa Clarita, completely different tone, but a man who's desperately trying to keep everything together and the facade that like he is in control.
Yes.
But he is actually, Bullock is prone to his own desires and his own mistakes almost more so than Ian McShane's character.
Yeah, no, McShane is fond of telling me that he recalls the first season, me looking at him after a take and asking him, when the fuck did I become this guy? Why are you having all the fun? And I used to make a living just having fun at work, and now everyone else is having fun around me. It took a while for me to, like I said, to just kind of let go of that. I don't think I did it during the course of shooting Deadwood, but at least I don't recall that feeling. But I do recall the pursuit of it. So by the time, for example, Justified rolled around, I don't remember any of those concerns going to work.
What were your concerns going to work?
How good the food's going to be at craft service. Because, if it's not good food, no one's going to be happy. I think I spent a great deal of time trying to get to a place where leading role, supporting role, comedy, drama, who gives a shit? It's all the same. It's all the same thing. Don't look at it as any different responsibility. It's the same game.
Right.
So.
Whereas back at the beginning of Deadwood, when you got a leading role, you were like,
yeah, like when they find out I'm not this guy, they're going to be very disappointed. That kind of feeling.
now you know that they know you're whatever they cast you for.
Now it's like, look, this is what you got. If you don't like it, just get somebody else. Like this is the way.
I'm a process guy.
I'm a process guy. No, I think I started. I think the combination of looking back. Speaking of like Hitman, and when the show got canceled, Deadwood, quite unexpectedly, I quickly needed to jump into some jobs that I hadn't planned on.
But I vaguely remember a piece about the cancellation of Deadwood where you were on the phone getting informed that it was canceled, and you were telling David Milch on that phone call, I just bought a house, dude.
Yeah, you should come check it out before I sell it, because it just got it, and it was lovely while it lasted. Yeah, no, it was very unexpected. McShane and I had renegotiated our contracts during the course of the third season. So it's so absurd. So we asked for raises after 2 seasons, as is common in show business. After 2 seasons, you say, okay, it's a success. We'd like some more money. And they, do you know this story? They were like, okay, we're proceeding with negotiations. And as the season approaches, we have not closed that deal. And the late, great James Gandolfini had just famously had been through a thing with Sopranos where he was asking for more money and refused to go back to work until they figured it out. And it was kind of in the press a lot. I think he accepted a Golden Globe, but during it, when he thanked everybody at HBO, and it got a laugh because they knew that he was in these. So anyway, my point is that McShane and I were like, we're going to go back to work in good faith. We're going to start the season knowing that this is going to get worked out. Right. So we went to work and we shot a bunch of episodes, and then somewhere along the way, 7 episodes, 8 episodes in, I got a call saying they closed the deal, and we got this big raise. And so we got back pay. My point being is that they canceled the show like 2-3 weeks later. They wouldn't have, they didn't clearly see a cancellation coming. They wouldn't have given us that money. So I bought a house thinking, well, at least 1 more season for sure, but probably 2, but let's not count on it because you don't want to be an idiot. And then they're like, none. And it was just such a disaster. It was so good. But I'm fond of saying now, thank God I didn't know they were going to cancel the show. I never would have bought the house. We made it. We figured it out. We made it work.
You look back on it. I mean, it sounds like you kind of look back on it fondly in the sense that we all look back on disasters, which is like, oh, that was so bad at the time, but I'm alive now. Is that basically it? Did it feel like a huge disaster at the time?
No, it's not a disaster. The show is exhausting in some respects. It's easy to look back at the show and remember the brilliance of it and the influence of Milch and the actors I was surrounded by and how much they really played a part in kind of my growth as an actor. And Milch has been in my mind on a regular basis ever since that job. I feel like I've taken him into every script meeting, writer's room, everything.
Why?
Well, it's the first time I saw that level of genius, a guy who, that sort of incredible combination of a guy who is both so well researched and such an understanding of the period and of the characters and the town, the culture, everything about it. And at the same time, a willingness to just throw it all out the window and go with this idea that just struck him. And he's a... You ever see that video of like Picasso painting where he's just like painting along and you're like, oh my God, it's so good. Stop, leave it alone. And then he just keeps going and you're like, oh my God, you're ruining it. Right. Oh no, it's really good too. And then he just keeps, and it just keeps changing his willingness to just, that's what it's like being around David.
That's what it's like being around most great storytellers, I would imagine, right? Is it
Yeah.
Is it more of a rarity to be around a phenomenal storyteller where they're not?
No, it's a rarity being around a phenomenal storyteller. So it was just the first time I was around a phenomenal storyteller, and a guy who was just willing to say, nope, we're going this way. And it was so powerful and inspiring and at times just so... It's just a fearless creativity. And it was, I could go all day on these moments where I would be around him and, I mean, he just, I was with Milch when we were walking off the sound stage and there's these double doors and you walk into it, open the stage door and you're in this little cubby before you go out into the light and you kind of get off. Anyway, he hit his head accidentally. We walked in and then the light came in, it was hard to see, and he walked into the wall and really hit his head pretty hard. And I was like, are you okay? And he looked at me and goes, Tim, God damn it if I couldn't become addicted to that. As he's holding his head in pain. And that afternoon, pages came out. There's a character hitting his head repeatedly against the wall. And people are like, did you read that scene? I say, I was there when it happened, I was there. His willingness to not separate the work from the world around him. I think he opened me to the idea of whatever you're talking about and whatever you're working on, perhaps they're actually the same thing.
Have you produced anything yet?
No, I just sit in the back, say, what about this?
Do you have plans to? Because every time
No, I guess I have produced. What am I was a producer on...
Justified.
On Justified,
right,
and producer on Santa Clarita. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you do...
I technically do have those titles, don't I? Check the IMDb page. I think there's some producing credits.
Do you is that a title that you feel
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because every time I've talked to you, you love talking about writers and you love talking about showrunners and people and the writers and the producers more than you almost like talking about acting.
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere in there that's a defense, just one way to protect myself. But whatever it is, I love it. I love the ride. I love being in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's where all the fun is. Yeah. And then I guess to some degree it makes the acting really more fun. And it's an extension of, I don't know, I don't really enjoy, acting is not something I find that interesting to dwell on. I mean, I love the game. I love playing the game. But I don't really love thinking about the game, where I love thinking about storytelling. And I find that endlessly entertaining.
And by the time that you get to set, because you've been working on the story beforehand, everything sort of makes sense for you. You don't have to ask questions at that point.
So easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so easy. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and one's a distraction from the other, which I think is really, I find very beneficial as well.
Which distracts from which?
Equally.
Equally.
Yeah, no, I find that, I like the idea that the words, rolling and action is just interrupting a conversation about future story.
Right, you're not just sort of sitting there.
So when they say cut, then you can go like, okay, so here's what we want to do,
You're keeping yourself busy in a way and not...
It's like I think so.
Well, there's something that is... the most intimidating thing about acting, I think, for some people is that period of time between someone saying action where you're just sitting there waiting and you can get in your head and get really nervous about everything you're doing.
It's essentially, like staring in a mirror. You just don't want to do it.
Some like it.
There's My Morning Jacket song where Jim James says, when God gave us mirrors, he had no idea. And I find that that's the trap with acting, is it just becomes gazing at yourself in the mirror. It's navel gazing, So, if I'm not part of the storytelling on a job, then I try to find myself distracted by whatever else is going on, whether it's read a book in between or just enjoy being on the set, enjoy the conversations.
Right.
Is it in poor taste that I bring up the Tarantino thing?
No, not at all. It's in poor taste that
I
I
tell you I
haven't
was
yet.
in a Tarantino movie. But on that set, for example, I'm not involved in the storytelling at all. He's got that. He's very good at it.
Quentin?
Yeah. Hey, here's an idea. What if? Hold on.
I just don't understand why I would say this.
I don't. I'm sure you gave it some thought, but just stay with me. I mean, it's got a certain poetry to it, but hang on.
I just feel like at this point, I know my character best.
I know I'm not in the ending, but here's an idea.
What if I was?
However, but like on that set, which is just one of the most glorious sets in the history of entertainment, it's the conversations in between. It's the opportunity to just be around the people, and I just find myself just very engaged in that. But I don't think about I don't want to think about the take or the acting.
Leave it to him.
I think it's like it's a similar thing, and I find it very much. It's all game playing. It's like it reminds me of it feels like sport. It feels like basketball or any. You ever take like tennis lessons?
Long time ago.
Really? So here's the thing, like on a tennis lesson, is you're going to sit there and whatever you're doing, whatever the drill is, and in between the drill, the coach is going to give you essentially notes, things you need to think about, things you want to try to accomplish. And next time we're going to go back, we're going to do that drill again, only and this time you're going to blah, 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 right? But if you then go do that drill, just thinking about that note, the other things are going to start to fall apart. Right. You kind of have to hear the note and then let it go, and just go back and there's this thing about athletics, as I understand it, which part of the beauty of it is not thinking. So you kind of have to hear the idea, hear the note, or hear the thing you want to try to do, and then it's the art of letting go of that, of thinking about that.
Isn't that the same thing with research for an actor? I mean, most actors say that when they research a part and they put all of their notes down on their script, by the time they get to set, it's the hope that they have in some way retained that in a way that they can let it all go and it'll just sort of come out naturally.
So what I've done, which I think is brilliant, stay with me here, is I've just not done the research. so it doesn't get in my way. It's really amazing. There's no notes on the script. Tim,
have you read the script? There's a script?
I haven't marked a script with a note in years.
Really?
No, never. Not once. If you saw my scripts, the only thing you'll see are hash marks, because every time I...
Doodles?
Well, you'll see doodles. That's true. There are two things you'll see. You'll see doodles, and I'm very fond of running lines. I love running lines. So I'll run lines endlessly. And I will, I've been in the practice of, I will make a hash mark every time I run the scene. And then every time I just keep making hash marks. So it looks like a prison cell. It's just hash marks on a wall. But if I get up to about 100, then I know I've got it.
100? You'll run the scene 100 times?
At least, yeah. Well, 50 for sure.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes 100. Yeah, I enjoy it.
You know, you're also in...
Yeah. I mean, it's like mowing the... You know, it's like there's something meditative about it. And then things enter your head while you're doing it. Ideas come up.
But then you don't want... That's almost the same thing as sort of taking notes or dictation, because you
I
don't want to bring
want
those ideas to set necessarily.
I don't ever write them down, no.
Right.
No, they just come and go, because then it allows you to, the good ones will stick around, and then at the same time, it'll take a different shape, but they tend to stick around.
But that also helps you, so when you get to set, you're just extremely comfortable with the words.
Yeah, you just want them out of your way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. Yeah.
You're also in an animated film that's coming out soon, right? Missing. I think we have a clip of...
Oh, really?
It, or Missing Link, excuse me, right? I think we have a quick clip. Let's show that clip. I've never heard your voice. I've never heard you do that with your voice before. Was that something that you knew you could do? Did you audition?
No.
How did you find that?
No, we just made it up.
Honestly, it took me a few seconds to realize that was you.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I mean, the look didn't help, maybe. Do you see that guy I'm playing?
Yeah.
It's hysterical. I didn't know that's what he looked like. I don't know if I knew that's what he looked like when I first started doing it. These things take forever, the stop motion. I think I started recording that in 1998. And
hot off the set of
coming
Go.
out Friday.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for... you know how to make a guy feel good. I love this company, Leica. I love everything they do. I love everything about that company up there in Portland, Oregon. And they did Caroline and Kubo and the Two Strings and on and on. And it was just a pleasure to be a part of that thing.
Had you even
Felt
seen
like a
what
little
the
kid.
character was going to look like?
At one time I went in, they brought a little, he's only, he's like this big.
Yeah.
And it's just so charming. And then I actually flew up to Portland. I took my son up there because he's interested in art and he loves animation. So they had always said, if you're ever in Portland, come by. I thought, you know what? I will come by. I'll fly up there. My son and I went up there for a night or two and went to a Trailblazers game and went over and visited the studio. It was just wonderful. I mean, everything that you see on these films are real. Their wardrobe is amazing. These little suits, these little outfits that they've made, and the materials. Everything has to move. All these people working on the hair. Everything you see has the ability to move, and it's all stop motion. So it's like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's like it's the most technologically advanced, archaic way of making a movie.
Wait, so how long ago did you start doing voice work for it?
It feels like 5 years ago or so. I think, yeah, I mean, it's been a few years. 'Cause we went and visited the studio, I feel like, was it last season? Maybe it was last NBA season we were visiting, but I'd already finished my work.
Movies, whether it's an animated movie, just any, or like Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it is the craziest idea to try to make them in the world you work. 5 years, and then it's like opening weekend, it's like, this is how I mean, that's how the industry responds,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Fortunately, fans will hold things up and look at them later and later, but there is that weird feeling of like, you have one weekend for 5 years of work.
Yeah. No, what's
No question, just
wonderful about no, I know, but I tell you what's wonderful about both those films is they share in common this. They built it from the ground. They didn't put one foot in front of the other until that first step was complete.
Right.
There's no, I've been done in movies where they're like, when is this shooting? And they're like, in a week. And I'm like, but the script isn't done. And they're like, yeah, don't worry about that. We'll figure it out. We'll
You get
put
upset
it.
and they're like, we have new pages.
Oh my God, it's new pages. We'll figure it out in post. It was, and there's lots and lots of money being spent. This movie, just like I think Quentin's movies, it's like you get this script and you're like, it's just beautiful, and I don't know. They're just made with such care and with such heart, and I just have a tremendous amount of respect for the people that do it that way. It's nice to be a part of.
You said the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood set was one of the most glorious sets you've ever seen. And I'm curious what that looked like. He's recreating late 60s Los Angeles.
No, I mean that it was like, not just how it looked. I just mean the environment that he creates in which to work in. It's just, it's unlike anything. I mean, there's no cell phones allowed. There's no monitors. There's no
monitors.
No, there's one monitor.
For him.
It's in his hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you get a lot of people off of the set. Someone once told
There's
me
no chairs.
Someone once told me they were on a set, and they're like, there's like 40 people looking at the monitor.
No.
And I was like, that is a nightmare.
No. I mean, it's a small. It's both like this. It's one. He does a lot of things that are not. At least they weren't to me. They weren't immediately apparent on what a monumental kind of shift from a normal set. And that's one. You're like, oh, there's no monitors, which means there's nobody. When we're sitting here doing a take, there's not a bunch of people over there behind a monitor, either watching with their notes and their whatever's going on,
pretending to watch,
and nor are there a bunch of people over there behind the monitors on their cell phones doing other business. So, which you've just come to accept as that's movie making. That's what sets are. There's a bunch of people over there, and they're staring at the monitor, and they're also working on other jobs, and they're whatever else is going on in their life, and they look up to see what they're doing and come back, and you just live with it. Yeah, it's okay. We're having fun. We're doing our thing over here. No, on a Quentin set, no, we're all doing this thing right here. Everybody's here, and it's an amazing. It's an amazing feeling.
But you have to be Quentin Tarantino to demand something.
Well, you may be right,
Yeah.
or you may just have to do it.
Right. May just have to demand it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chicken and the egg question, right? I mean, is he doing that because he's Quentin, or did he do that and that made him Quentin? You see what I'm saying?
I saw what you did there. That was good. That was a real chicken or the egg moment for you.
Well, I mean, I think that's, you can ask that question with a lot of people in a lot of different professions. Like, oh, he does that because he's Michael Jordan, but maybe he did it, and that's what made him Michael Jordan. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what he's doing, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's just so, that's what I mean about what a set. You're like, ooh, so it can be done this way. Right. Well, this is a new way of thinking about it. On the other hand, it's because, I mean, he's doing it his way. And I think also why, you know, I think when you write a script like he's capable of writing a script and you put it on someone's desk, you're saying, and he says, that's the script, that's what I'm going to shoot, you in or you out. And by the way, this is the way I'm going to do it. And if you don't want to do it that way, you take it somewhere else.
Right.
It's a pretty fun ride to be a part of, that's for sure.
I have a question from Twitter. Thanks for the laughs. Has anything in your career been as fulfilling as your brilliant performance in Gone in 60 Seconds? Hashtag written out, not an actual. Are you sure you're okay because you just went through a wall? Is that a line in Gone in 60 Seconds? I'm a little lost on that.
I thought you were a fan.
Some stuff slips under my radar.
And now
man.
I'm offended. So, Jay Hayes 88. Is there anything that's been fulfilling as I'm going to say my brilliant performance in Gone in 60 Seconds that
Not mine.
Ricky's not familiar with? The answer is no. There's never been anything more fulfilling than that.
Which is strange because I'm also a big Nicolas Cage fan.
Let's talk about Nicolas Cage.
Please.
Wow.
Please, let's talk about Nicolas Cage. How much time do we have left? Because we're going to talk about Nicolas Cage for a while.
I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. I mean, just huge.
Never get to take the same.
No, I mean, yeah, I just had this brief experience in this kind of, you know, in this sort of craziness. That's one of those movies where you're like, did you guys finish the script? And they're like, don't worry about it. We've already started shooting. But he doesn't. I mean, this is a long time ago. It's like 20 years ago. I don't know how long ago. But even in that craziness, I still felt like I was working with the Nicolas Cage that, like, there's no where he just turned it off and stopped being him. He's just truly authentic. You're getting it's amazing. And he was a big inspiration for me early, starting out. Huge, as I imagine for many, many people. But his performances, I mean, Wild at Heart and...
Oh, yeah.
Even was it Honeymoon in Vegas or whatever that thing is, and
Did you ever see Vampire's Kiss?
oh, so good. There's so many
The
good.
cockroach?
Oh, this is so good. And you know what we were talking about earlier. He's one of those guys who didn't seem to be at all burdened by the responsibility of a lead role. He was just out of his mind in everything, no matter what it was. You know, I mean, like like he never stopped being him. He just
Yeah. There was never
which
a
I was
moment
not
where
capable of doing, but I was at least capable of identifying it in others and knowing that's what you want to try to strive for.
Well, he really, I mean, for better or worse, in my opinion, for better a lot of the time, forced the movies to work around him.
I get. I mean, he's one of those guys. Like I said, I envy it. I am not that out of my mind that it doesn't. I'm not. It's not that accessible to me as it was for him, especially starting out. Yeah. I felt. I wish I was. I felt like I worked really, really hard to get to that place. But boy, really admire his work.
I've been told that I held on to you for too long.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Santa Clarita Diet is on Netflix right now. Missing Link comes out this spring. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Friday?
Oh, is it Friday Missing Link comes out?
Let's say Friday.
Friday Missing Link comes out.
Yeah.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is July, I believe, right?
Okay.
Okay. Timothy Olyphant, everybody. The best talk show guest you could have.
You're the best. Thank you very much.